Hey guys, welcome to Frasier Friday in the temporary digs. My name is Dan. As always, with me is Merlin for the Frasier show, and we're in Merlin's studio.
Sort of, yeah.
As it's known.
I'm actually going harder than I typically do. This is probably more effort than I put into most of my own videos. But I was like, since you can, what were you randomly doing?
We're testing some things out.
I was like, I got a light, I got a microphone.
Who knows?
I don't know.
But we also have
Frasier.
season 7 of Frasier.
What they really came here for.
That is true. You can see more of us in this way too. Usually it's like from here up.
Well, it's because, and this is something I learned from Honey Lemon, because she told me, it's typical with YouTubers, they like that downward view.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we can kind of see the whole body. And I guess you're right. Usually we do it more close up and
yeah,
which is also
kind of
fine.
Straightforward.
But you can see the whole backdrop of this.
Yeah, which I do like.
Good.
Although, now you can all see me looking at the synopsis on my phone. But anyway.
What? You
so
didn't
we've
have
got each episode I commit to memory, script for script. So we're going to talk, we're more than halfway through now. Because there's 11 seasons.
Wow.
So this is part 1 of season 7. And we talked last time about how it was a good season.
Yeah, it was good.
But a safe one.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really was, super stand out. But, nothing was bad. Like, nothing got even below a B-, I think, grade-wise.
No, it was decent.
It was all fine. It was all good. It was all enjoyable and safe. We'll see what happens with this season. I have some opinions for sure.
Okay.
But we start with a popular guest star, played by Rita Wilson, Tom Hanks' wife, and she plays here a woman that Frasier is dating that looks remarkably like his mother. This episode's called Mamma Mia. She's a children's author, and he is trying to go for a blind date that Roz set him up with. And then he sees the Rita Wilson character walk in, and he's like, oh my god, that woman is so striking. He doesn't figure out why until Niles and Martin tell him. But they go to the cabin. It's another classic cabin episode.
Lots of stuff happens at the cabin.
They go to the cabin, and then they watch old home movies, and then all of a sudden, there it is. She looks exactly like her. I thought this was a pretty interesting way to open the season.
It was, actually. And if I remember correctly, they kind of play with this sort of stuff later. Not necessarily with the mom motif, but I remember that he kind of gets haunted by, ex-girlfriends at some point.
Yes, there's an episode...
I forget what it is.
It's in, season 8 or 9, I think, where, you have Shelley Long shows up, Lilith, of course, and then... I don't think it's actually Rita Wilson. It's somebody else that is playing the mother. But yeah, and then the hippie dippy girl that he married back in college or whatever.
Oh yeah,
she shows up too.
Not the hippie girl that he liked sleeping with, but hated everything else about.
No, that was a different one. No, one from his way past. Yeah. So that might be at the cabin too. I think he goes to the cabin.
That happens recurring. A lot of
catharses happen at the cabin.
There's a place with some basic psychology. Now, let me ask you this though, Dan. Would you say that the cabin episodes are usually great, or are they just always trying to top that one that was awesome that you loved?
I mean, the one that I love, and many people, TV Guide named it, one of the best episodes of all time of any show. I think there was a lot of magic in that episode, but a lot of it relied on farce, which they then tried again the following season with the ski instructor who was gay, and then he was going after Niles. It was funny. But then all the subsequent ones I can think of are more like this, less farcical and more introspective maybe. And there's funny things that happen, but it's not, as much as people coming in out of the doors and mishearing things and whatever. So I don't know. I think maybe they kind of found a sweet spot with that cabin motif because it, other than really the cafe, the radio station, and the apartment, and then sometimes Niles' apartment, there's not really a lot of different scenery and venues for the show.
It's true.
Which I guess you could say about Cheers too. I mean, other than the bar and
all right, well,
a couple other places. But
I know we're getting a little off track here, but I feel like it's an interesting thing. I remember sometimes you said that you tend to like it with a lot of shows, sitcom or drama, where they kind of stay in their main spaces, and when they leave, you don't like it, but you do like these cabin episodes.
Well, because my problem with the leaving mainly is that it focuses on not only taking the family or the cast out of their natural habitat, but throwing in these other characters that we've never met before and are supposed to care about, and then they go away and we never see them again.
Gotcha.
Sopranos,
Italy.
Everybody Loves Raymond, Italy as well. And here, we're still sticking with the core members of the family, plus maybe a girlfriend or a boyfriend. It's a lot like, for example, the Seinfeld episode where they go to the Hamptons, and the Shrinkage episode. They're still being the main cast.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, we throw in a couple other people, but it's like they're still themselves and they're still their core. The core group is still cohesive.
Sure.
And when you put, Ray and his family in Italy and going to see the different sites, it's like, well, now it's just almost like a tourism video. That's what I don't like.
I got you.
Yeah. Anyway. So anyway, I liked this episode as a starter for the season. I gave it a B+. So next we have Father of the Bride. And in this episode, Frasier and Martin, sort of on a faux pas, end up telling Daphne they'll pay for her entire wedding when they meant to tell her that they would pay for like the garter
or something.
Flowers, yes, something. But
this is the most fun thing ever.
Frasier was hiccuping when he said it, so it was a case of that.
It was a fun one.
That was a fun one. Yeah, so basically Frasier takes over, and, as he does, and
overdoes it.
And
then eventually she's like, "No, I don't want you to pay for it. I want to control my own wedding."
Which is nice because it will cost them a lot less. The Frasier's vision of the wedding was going to be like this $100,000 affair. It was funny. I gave it a B.
Okay.
Next is Radio Wars. As you might imagine, this is one of my favorites of the season. This is Carlos and the Chicken, which we have Brian Callen from Mad TV, and I don't know the other gentleman playing the other guy, but they're the new Madcap morning show on KACL.
This was one that I always remember too.
Yeah, me too.
So I always think about this.
This season aired when a friend of mine from college had moved back into town, and she was working at the radio station with me. And Thursdays was like our night because we both liked Friends as well, so we watched like Friends, Frasier. And then the shows in between as well. And this and the Dr. Mary episode that's coming up later in the season were two episodes that we referenced just for the rest of our lives. I guess because maybe they both revolved around the radio station itself. But I just thought this was such a funny episode. Every line is a winner.
Did you ever do prank calls when you worked at the station, man?
We really didn't. We weren't like the morning zoo type shtick.
Didn't pull the John Cena?
No, we didn't do that. We really kind of, we didn't do a lot of like bits. We kept it more just conversational.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
But Frasier would have preferred the conversation, I think, as well, as opposed to the pranks.
He did not like the pranks.
And
we liked it.
We liked it. He kept falling for it.
That was
and of course, the whole family was listening.
They got you really good.
As they're talking about his, giant butt, and send a picture of Frasier's butt in.
When he's talking about his sculptor, like trying to just describe how
his posterior and it's so great because of course he wants to settle things his own way with the word.
Yes.
And Roz, I've whipped up a fantastic
monologue.
Monologue to really cut them to their core. And then their undoing becomes themselves,
which is pretty funny.
Trying to one up each other on an offhanded comment that Frasier said about who's the straight man. But I love this episode. I give it an A. Maybe too high. I don't know.
No, I think that's appropriate. I like this one a lot.
Like you said, it's a memorable one.
Like this is one that sticks with me. I remember the pranks, and I think even like the first one, just him like the American Psychological Association, whatever it was.
Right.
Just like he's just just we're calling to get like I don't know what they said for him specifically, but it was just
hilarious. And one of the things we talked about the Hall of Thinkers or something.
The Hall of Thinkers, and they need to like his what I don't know.
They were going to create a bust.
Just a bust for his head, like the fact that he believed that his ego, like,
and then Roz tries to talk to him about like
Hall of Thinkers,
and he was like, "Well, it's such a bad idea." And then he was like, "All right, it was early.
I'm tired. All
right." But you know, one of the things we had talked about as recently, I think, as last season, was that they sort of went away from the radio station episodes. Certainly, the whole season that it was the Latino music station.
Mm-hmm.
But then last season they came back sort of midway through the season without much fanfare. They were just like,
we're back.
The Latino music didn't work out, so now we're getting our jobs back. But I think part of the appeal of the first few seasons is that radio station atmosphere, him and Roz's back and forth.
Well,
the different station managers coming in. Of course, Kenny is a great one, and he's lasted here
a
few seasons. I think he lasts till the end of the show.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where like the family dynamic is obviously so important. I mean, it is, I guess, pretty much the heart of Frasier, but I think that the radio stuff is still also a big part, and I did feel like it was neglected a little.
Yeah, so I was glad to see that back, and I think that's why I like this episode and the Dr. Mary one so much.
Oh, yeah, that's...
that we'll talk about, I think, on the next episode.
Definitely.
So next is Everyone's a Critic. This is when Niles gets a job as the art critic for the Monocle, which in itself, like, come on. So then Frasier decides to make friends with Poppy, the station owner's like granddaughter or niece or something.
Poppy's funny. I like the recurring Poppy.
Or it's her daughter, I guess.
Poppy's daughter. Yeah.
And she's in a couple of episodes.
She's
and so she gets talked into by Frasier having an art show that he obviously intends for himself to run, but she ends up hosting it herself.
I liked when what was it? He approached the radio president, the manager. And he was Kenny was like, it's like, what do you think would be Frasier Crane doing his own criticism show? You know what I mean? No, that sounds horrible.
Right.
I don't listen to that. No, you? High Society? No.
And then because the tag is, of course, I'm listening. He goes, yeah, High Society, who's listening?
Who's listening, Doc? Am I right?
That was great. So I gave that one a B+. I thought that was enjoyable. I like the introduction as well, the Poppy character.
She's funny.
So up next, you've got The Dog That Rocks the Cradle. This is when Bulldog, of course, got fired recently, so now he's delivering pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ends up being very good with Alice. Roz needs a break, so she has him babysit. And here he's turning all the guys away. And
sabotaging your dates.
He's scaring them. So
his friends are pretty great.
Yeah. He gets a few words in there, yeah. But then, Roz figures out what he's doing, and I thought this was an okay episode. I think a lot of what we saw last season, it's funny, but I think it's very safe. Like they sort of did something like this similarly when she became Bulldog's producer, and we thought he had changed his stripes, but really he was just trying to get in her pants. So I just left this one with a B. Treading on some old ground, but still funny. So up next is Rivals, and Poppy is back on this one. This is a pure case of mistaken identity. I talked last time about how I've been watching a lot of Three's Company lately, and every episode there, they mishear something, and that's the basis of the whole episode. Here we see Niles has a thing for Poppy. He thinks that Frasier likes Poppy, but Frasier likes his neighbor, and the neighbor is clued out because then Poppy tells her that Frasier like. So it's
one of
this
those,
whole like
another farce.
Yeah, it's another farce. A lot of mistaken things happening, miscommunications, and they end up at this big dance together, this big ball, and everybody's sort of swapping off girlfriends and whatever. Enjoyable again.
Kind of done it a lot.
Another B for me. Not breaking new ground.
Yeah.
A Czar is Born is the next one, and this is when they go on the Antiques Roadshow.
I like this one.
And it turns out that they.
That's what I thought.
That's what I think. That's about what I figured.
That's about what I figured. Whatever.
Because they didn't want to look like jackasses on the show. I love the beginning of this episode where, they're both sort of vying for the TV time for the night. Because they're like, oh, we want to watch our high class, high society show, and Martin's like, well, I want to watch my game show, but they're really both talking about Antiques Roadshow, and they discover, there's something that the three of them have in common.
That's a good moment.
It's a great moment.
Also, am I wrong? Is this also where we get mentioned?
Film fanatics?
No,
yes, they talk about Lancaster.
No, Harrisburg.
Oh, is it in Harrisburg?
They mentioned. Okay. They're like, something from down in Harrisburg, and they're like, Amish country. Who cares about that?
Because I remember they said the next week's episode would be in Lancaster or something. But yes, maybe they talk about Harrisburg
as well. They did mention Harrisburg. I was like, there's because my family and I like to joke, Harrisburg pops up a lot, and it actually does a lot randomly.
Yes.
Like in I think it was like in the show Scandal. They tried to assassinate the governor in Harrisburg.
Oh, yes.
And then U.S. Marshals there for Harrisburg. I mean, that our city pops up randomly sometimes and things.
Well, it's funny.
And
Simpsons.
He was trying to go to Harrisburg, and he went to New York and hated it.
That's true.
I don't know why he was in Harrisburg.
I guess that's because Philly and D.C. and Baltimore are all right there. Since we're the capital of PA.
There's
I guess that's true.
We're in between a lot of bigger cities.
We really are.
So it's not a bad place.
No. But I like this episode.
Yeah.
I think it's funny they end up finding out that they're descended from whores and thieves and not
the princess. No, your ancestor was the scullery man or whatever.
Right.
They said.
Yes.
And
then they don't end up selling it, and they end up out like $30,000 because they promised Martin that they would. Martin was trying to sell it, but they were going to try and basically undercut him. Because they know, and then he bought the RV from it, which shows up in later episodes. So anyway, I enjoyed it. I give it an A-. The Late Dr. Crane is next, and this is a mix-up leading to Frasier's death being announced on the television. So everybody thinks he's dead.
This is a good episode.
And everybody sort of he re-examines
his life.
What have I done? What have I become?
He tries to do all this stuff.
So I liked this one. I left it with a B+, but you seemed to be excited when I said it. So why don't you talk about it?
Oh, I remembered thinking it was just something that I think everyone can kind of relate to. I thought that the farce of him thinking he was dead was pretty great. Like, no, I actually died, and yes, seeing my life there. And he tries to do all these big tasks, but obviously, the goals get too lofty. And I forget, what was it? Oh yeah, that's right. He tries to just jog a lot, and he ends up just injuring himself horribly.
He gets so hurt.
Just by doing very little.
Yes.
And he's okay, well maybe I'll reevaluate things. And he starts crossing over things. Okay, well let's make this a little more realistic, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like it when Frasier sort of reevaluates himself and kind of puts his ego in check a little.
Yes. Usually they do those as season enders.
Yeah.
But here they put it in the middle.
This would have been a good season ender.
It actually would have been. Yeah.
I like that.
But
it's a good episode.
But of course, this season ends with the
a bigger
something else.
We'll talk about next episode.
So next is the Apparent Trap. This is the Lilith episode for the season. This is when...
this is a good one.
This is when...
Dan, I'm going to predict Dan really liked this one.
Freddie tries to bring
he loves kids,
Frasier and Lilith closer together, and he really just wants a razor scooter or something.
Some new toy.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant.
I do like this one. It's not my favorite Lilith.
Okay.
It's not my favorite Lilith. I give it an A-.
Oh, good.
It's definitely good. Brilliant, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly a trope that's been used so many times on television and movies and whatnot.
I don't know. I think...
the classic, child of divorce getting his parents together. But I like the twist that he didn't really want them to get together.
No, that was good.
Was good.
I thought it really showed a lot of aspects to his character we haven't seen before. That's something new for him.
Freddie is at the age now, in this episode, he was born... season 9 or so of Cheers, so he's got to be about 10. They play, they don't really play with his age at all. He's not really aged up appropriately. So I'd say he's about 10 or maybe 11 at this point.
I'll tell you what sticks out for me that I thought was a really fun gag was Niles in the video game.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah,
Niles was really trying to figure out.
Really mad about not being able to get past her.
Yeah,
I like that, and I like that.
Freddy's like, this is the training.
The training. This is like the tutorial.
Room. Yeah, he's like, I didn't even know you could die here.
That's really like a cool little reference. I think he's playing like an N64 or something. So I just was like, like what could he be playing? And I like the fact Lilith came in there and she's obviously...
It just shows him how to do it.
She does what... And I like the fact that she, clearly knows what her son's playing, gets involved.
Right.
And she's good
at, true.
using, for mental activities. And I don't know, just a fun little detail about Lilith. I like that stuff.
That's a good point. I did like that as well. And it was interesting that this was the first time that they had seen each other really since the hooking up.
And to see their awkwardness, I thought was funny. And how they dealt with it. And... how Niles thought about the idea of them getting together, like, what? What? Right. And he comes out with the glass, like, I just heard the wonderful news. I'm so happy about it.
Yes. The forced Niles happiness is always...
The gritting teeth.
Like, you just think he's going to burst a blood vessel or something.
Actually, I'm going to say something.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Actually, I'll save it for either the end of this episode or
there's only 3 more episodes to talk about here, so you want to save it?
I'll save it.
Okay. Don't forget it now.
I'm not going to forget it.
All right. So up next is Back Talk. This is when Frasier's back, gives out on his birthday, and the real crux of this episode is that he inadvertently, in his drugged up state, tells Daphne
big episode.
Niles' true feelings.
Oh, there's Niles.
He's crazy about you. I mean, this is one of the classics of the season for sure.
Oh, for the series.
For the series, you're right. For the series.
Maybe for all television.
Because, of course, this has been now 6.5 years.
Now Dan's happy to finally wrap this up.
I think we'll talk primarily about this.
This is a big part
in the second half of the season.
And next season. Too.
Next season for sure, but I mean, I think we're going to talk about my feelings about the Niles and Daphne not knowing thing.
A little more,
a little more on the next half of the season.
For this episode, did you like the gag of her thinking Frasier loved her?
Loved it.
I like that a lot too.
Now again, it was very Three's Company.
Yeah.
She's mishearing. But her,
I liked her.
Jane leaves. Does something that we have yet to talk about, but it pops up at least a couple of times this season, and it gets progressively funnier the later we get, because we know these characters inside and out.
Yeah.
And it is her reaction shots when she comes from the room and overhears something from either the living room or she comes from the kitchen and overhears something.
Around.
It's her face of like...
It's like abject horror or shock.
Yeah,
and she's
like
trying to show,
oh my god, am I hearing this right?
And sometimes she's it gets a combination of like anger or confusion for I'm just gonna.
Because you can see in her mind, right? Like 10 things of like, how do I react? What does this mean? And this is one of my favorites of those. I think this is so funny. Yeah, because at first she thinks that Frasier is in love with her, and then of course it turns out he was just talking about loving her and as a person, and he's going to miss her when she gets married. Because at this point we haven't really talked about this, but a lot of the B plots for this season thus far have revolved around her and Donny, which is Niles' divorce lawyer that we met last season,
her fiance,
and now fiance. So, we talked briefly about the wedding episode where they're going to pay for the wedding. But, yeah, so she's getting ready to basically leave the Crane's apartment.
Again.
And so that all stems from that. But this was certainly one of the touchstone moments in the entire series, I think.
Yeah, big time.
Absolutely. So that's an A for me. And then The Fight Before Christmas is next. This is obviously a Christmas episode, following from Frasier revealing the feelings for Daphne, because by the end of the episode we have learned, okay, Daphne knows it's Niles, not Frasier, and he really did have those feelings. So basically, Niles and Mel, good old Mel, We haven't really discussed that, but one of the episodes had the subplot of Niles getting together with the plastic surgeon.
Which I wanted to say, I thought there were.
Do you want to talk about that now?
There were a lot of funny gags with her.
Okay.
I like Mel.
I thought Mel was fine.
Mel's funny. I actually.
I'd like to look up the actress's name.
I
like
like
to give
the
her
actress.
credit. Yeah, because I think she was. It's very funny in this.
Very clearly, and I think this harkens back to what we were talking to the previous couple episodes about last season, about the use of Maris, and I think now, because I admit I kind of forgot about Mel, now I see, we did actually meet Maris. She was Mel. Which we'll get into more.
Yes, of course, physically not so much, but in that state of
that type of character, what she's like,
bossy,
because they bring up like, you're kind of like how he ends up with similar women. This is basically what Maris is like in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
controlling and
like you say, they bring that up.
And to be honest,
to him, and of course he doesn't see it.
No,
much like Frasier not seeing that his girlfriend looks like his old mother.
We kind of see a little bit of Maris and Mel, but I like Mel. I think that there were some funny things there. I liked a lot of. I think the best things were actually her reactions, or rather, Daphne's reactions to her. Actually, she's the servant and.
Oh my God! Yeah, her and of course most of Mel's arc comes after Daphne has discovered Niles' feelings for her.
See a lot more of
her. So her and Mel sort of are sparring just from that alone. So he meets her basically just a few episodes before this. He meets her in the late Dr. Crane, because the reason we think Dr. Crane's dead is because she's a plastic surgeon, and so there's a miscommunication in the hospital.
And that's why the bomb drops is even bigger, because Niles has found somebody he's so happy with.
Right.
And it's like, now.
And then all of a sudden Daphne realizes
twist things.
The feeling. So that was episode 8 of the season, and then Backtalk is episode 10. And then we're talking now about The Fight Before Christmas, episode 11. So really he's only been with Mel for 3 episodes at this point.
It's not long.
And so basically, there's a lot of back and forth there. But Maris basically comes back into the picture in this episode, and we see Mel's reaction to Niles like kind of lying to her, because he went over to Maris to console her because the dead gardener.
The lies keep going.
And
another farce thing.
Another farce. So the lies start piling on at the Christmas party. This is The Fight Before Christmas. And, so Frasier kind of sets things straight, except also making things worse.
Of course.
Because Niles is like, Mel knows the truth and she's fine with it, but the truth he meant was what he told her about buying her Christmas gift. And so, Frasier's like, well, Mel, no need to worry, Maris is out of the picture.
Oops.
So that, that becomes another problem.
Maris? Yeah.
That was, it was good, but again, ground we've trod upon before, that's a B. And then last that we're going to talk about now is Road Whirrer, which is Martin's license plate, which is RD
Classic.
RD space WRER, and of course nobody can figure it out. And this is a New Year's episode. They're going to celebrate the new year, and they end up in the RV that Martin bought as a result of the
here we are,
the vase
I will
from the Antiques Roadshow
with America,
and get reacquainted with America.
With complex human emotions that can't be summarized.
And so here this episode is so funny. First of all, you've got Niles mistaking the other couple's van for RV for theirs.
He thinks he's been kidnapped by this
old couple, when really they're talking about
what
she had accidentally pocketed a lighter that the waitress.
So they're like the nicest people. Let it go, Mom. Which, by the way, a minor bit of Star Trek trivia.
Ooh.
The old man, the husband, actually played one of the antagonists in Star Trek Insurrection.
Is that right?
And he was a Starfleet admiral.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, he's very funny in this. I don't think he was probably too funny in Star Trek, right?
Oh, no, he was very serious. He was telling Picard, you have to do this even though it's wrong. And Picard's like, why? Moral dilemma. And
is that Tom Hardy movie?
The one before that. And
so close.
Not to your judgment, but typically considered to be One of the worst Star Trek.
The worst, yeah.
Next gen, for sure.
Yeah. But I love them in this. The
he was funny in this, yeah.
And then, of course, just the general Crane boys on location or on vacation is always funny. I love it when Martin starts laughing hysterically in the back, and Frasier's like, "Oh, is he watching Robin and the Seven Hoods again?" And it turns out it's Austin Powers.
The Austin
so
Powers.
He starts quoting Austin Powers.
Oh yeah, I was like, wow, that craze must have been. And I guess that was a little past the first movie, right?
It was a few years past the first movie because Frasier even comments like, "You realize the Austin Powers craze has long passed or whatever."
So was this would have been the second one to come out in '99, right? Was it
the first one was '99.
Spy Who Shagged Me?
So,
was the second one?
No, you're right. The first one was '97.
'97.
The second one was '99.
So I'm wondering, is he talking about the first movie?
And this is 2000.
Okay, so this would have been. The second one came out.
The second one came out probably 6 months earlier.
Which is interesting.
So,
I'm glad you brought that up because I remember watching that. I thought that was funny. And Frasier doesn't usually root itself too much in pop culture. So somebody must have been a fan enough of Austin Powers to do that.
I guess that's true.
You know what I mean? Like something like that?
Yeah, you're right. One thing about Frasier...
They try to...
there aren't a lot of... I mean, there's like opera references and classical literature references.
Sometimes they'll talk about movies, but it's like generally like, oh, that Van Damme picture or something.
Although think about this season, though. They've already done Antiques Roadshow. Mm-hmm. And now Austin Powers references.
Trying to be hip.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's...
Just, I thought it was interesting detail.
That is very interesting.
And also, we forgot to mention the cop gag. You know,
yep, towards the end of the episode, there's a cop gag where...
It's pretty great.
They get stopped, and then... Martin kind of mouths off to him and calls him a goober.
You shouldn't have called me a goober.
and then he pulls him over shortly after. I mean this is a great episode.
Gems.
This is an A for me for sure.
It's such a good one.
And then finally they hit the
state line.
The midnight right on the state line as the RV runs out of gas.
Then they're like,
and starts rolling backwards.
They run back in because there's like coyotes.
There's coyotes. They start singing Old Lang Syne, and the coyotes start going. So
that's a great episode.
So that is a great way to end the first half of season 7.
No doubt.
So far, we've gotten some real gems here, which I like.
Yeah, it's better than last season so far.
So far, yeah, I would say episode for episode, it's better than last season. But the lowest I gave was a B so far. So last season, I think we had a couple of B minuses maybe. There's a lot to talk about in part 2 because I definitely want to hit on the Daphne.
Yeah. The Daphne stuff.
The Daphne
Mel
stuff. With Mel and Niles.
The twist. I know you can talk a lot about the not knowing and then will they, won't they.
Yes, I will talk all about that.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe before we wrap this up, I want to talk about something that came up this season. More and more.
Okay.
And I think it's a product of, again, a show kind of, getting on a little bit in its years and diminishing the creativity. I think they've got a lot of good episodes here. They're keeping everything fresh.
He thinks it's losing steam.
Here's what I think about it. You know how last season I thought it was funny but safe.
Safe, very safe.
Here, it's not so much safe as it is really delving into the classic sitcom setup punchline thing more than most other seasons of this show so far. And that's not to say that the writing is necessarily less sharp, but I put in, and most of them come in this first half of the season. That's why I want to bring it up.
Okay.
But I pointed out in my notes here a few of the gags. So, for example, in the Mamma Mia episode, we're at the cabin. They talk about Niles, having this big briefcase with him. And Martin's like, oh, man, we're only going to be here for the weekend. What'd you pack all these clothes for? And he's like, oh, no, that's bug repellent. And he opens it up, and it's like 10 different bug repellents. That is not a realistic thing that would have happened in season 2 of Frasier. That is a sitcom-y sight gag.
Okay. Visual gag.
Also, Father of the Bride. Frasier wants a harp player in the mix. And so as Martin says, boy, I remember that like it was yesterday. The harp player starts tuning up and plays a harp tune like they're having a flashback. Sitcom-y.
It's
and
funny,
it's
though.
funny.
It's funny.
I'm not saying these things aren't funny. I'm just saying it's a little
general.
kind of hacky. Like what? Okay, so when
I think it's easy. It's too easy.
What's his face? Bulldog comes, delivers the pizza. Mm-hmm. They start talking about. They say the quote, "Oh, you never know when death will come knocking at your door." And then Bulldog.
See, all right,
that's an old like Laverne and Shirley gag.
But I think those jokes are funny though. I like those jokes.
Those jokes are okay. How about the sight gags, though? Because I have another sight gag for you.
Okay, give me another one.
Okay, in The Late Dr. Crane, when they're at the at Mel's office, mm-hmm. and they ask for Maris's files, they bring in a dossier this big. They slam it on the table.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, these are the Maris Crane files." And the delivery boy goes, "Oh no, this is just Spring '96." I mean, come on, Frasier. I think Frasier's great strength is that it roots itself in reality.
That's true.
It's a little broad,
That's
but
true.
These are like broad
right.
sight gags
all right.
that we have not seen before.
All right, you're right. You're right, but I feel like if it's still intelligent enough, like to fit with Frasier, I don't think these are like they're obvious. But I mean, I still think it fires off certain neurons. I mean, like, I don't... Okay, like, for instance, I always like to use Seinfeld as a comparison. Okay. Seinfeld, obviously also rooted itself very much in reality. But those last couple seasons got a bit experimental, a bit weird.
Yeah.
There was a lot more visual comedy, I bet.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I still thought it was funny as long as it fit in with, like, the general vibe of the show and the characters. So, like, that seems like an exaggeration that the characters might talk about rather than visuals. Like they make jokes like that all the time about, oh, the file could have been that big. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's that.
All right.
I mean, I agree.
I guess you're right. They have. You're right. I guess in terms of Maris, I suppose they.
She's exaggerative. She's exaggerative.
But because we've never seen Maris herself.
Okay.
You're right. I guess we've never quite seen a visual gag with Maris.
We can't.
I didn't think of that.
We can't.
How about the bug repellent though? He opens up the case and there's 10 different brands of bug repellent in there.
Okay, I'm gonna.
That's a hacky sitcom,
Look,
and it's not that it's not funny.
Wait.
It's just not Frasier.
That
to me is more Night Court or
I agree that it's not Frasier's strongest point for that, but I will say this though: can I picture Niles bringing 10 different types of bug repellent to ensure which one's the best? Yes, I can. I can.
Niles would already know which one's the best, and you know it.
Actually,
he's tested all of them.
All right. Okay, you're right. You're right. He might have 10 of the same.
Right.
All right.
That would have made more sense if he had 10 of the same.
All right.
Or like a giant, like a gag, like giant one.
Giant one. Okay. All right. Not the strongest.
Maybe so I just wanted to mention that as part of this season.
But you know why they're doing that? Because they're doing a lot of the same stuff a lot more obviously. They want to try and because they're getting scared.
I agree.
Keep the glass
I agree. The comparisons of Three's Company with the overhearing something has been ramped up the last 2 seasons.
A lot. Like almost every other episode is like mishearing and farce again.
Right.
Like so much.
And like I said, I mean, last season, in season 6 we talked about this, they took over for Seinfeld in the prime Thursday at 9 slot. And so I'm sure they were getting a lot of network notes. Hey, this is working, keep doing it this way, keep doing episodes like this. So I don't know. But I think the story arc of the characters
is pretty good.
Is very good and still very much intact.
But you think the jokes aren't quite as solid as they could be?
I think in some instances they're going more for broad humor and more sort of sitcom-y wink wink than we're used to seeing from Frasier. Like the thing is, at this time, 2000, the late 90s, sitcoms were every network had 10, 15 sitcoms.
Wow.
This to me is more like, like a Dharma and Greg joke or something.
Well, there you go.
Than a Frasier joke.
They were trying to compete.
Yes, and I think the product is a little more diminished because I don't think they needed to.
Because they're Frasier. Yeah, they already have the
brilliant writing.
Yeah, that's true. You're
right.
Okay.
That's all I'll say on that. Because I think we've chatted about the first half long enough. We will be back with season 7 part 2 next time to talk even more about Frasier. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.